Hi. I'm really happy to be here with you this evening. However many months ago when James asked me to come and speak today, I didn't know that it was going to be the day that my child's 6th grade class was going to have their spring recital, in which she is playing the cello at the First Congregational Church of Berkeley. What this meant, besides having to listen to "Mom, you're not coming to hear me, and you never do," was that I had, from the time I picked her up and we got home from school, we had 20 minutes. We had 20 minutes for me to feed her, for me to take a shower and get dressed to come here, and for her to get dressed in her black pants, black shoes, and white shirt that was required for the recital. So I, of course, knowing this in advance, I had planned last night, I had laid out her clothes, right? And I figured out what I was going to wear, and we walked in the door, and I said, "Here's your pasta," and I ran to the shower, right? All was going well. We were going to make it, no problem. And then she came to me, and she said, "Mom, I can't find my shoes." So we tore the entire house apart. We're calling Dad, "Did you take the shoes?" We are like scouring the house for the shoes, and we could never find them. And she ended up wearing her black high-top basketball shoes to her recital. Okay, so we're jamming into the car. We're late. We live in Walnut Creek. We're, like I'm driving like a mad woman on 24. And I said, "You know what, Anna? You know what's funny about this?" I said. And she said, "It wasn't such a really good day." That's what she said. And I said, "You know what's funny about this?" I said, "I have to get up and stand up in front of 200 people in an hour and tell them talk about gratitude." She said, "Well, Mom, you're going to have to get in a better mood." So, having practiced now for a little bit anyway in my life about gratitude, I thought, this means I need to practice gratitude. So I'm driving along thinking, okay, so what am I thankful for in this very moment? And I said, "Anna, you know what I really appreciate about this hour that we just had together?" I said, "You did not lose your temper even once. You stayed in a really fabulous, upbeat mood. You searched through the house on your scooter. You were so, you kept saying, 'Mom, it's okay, we'll figure this out,' whatever." And she goes, "Yeah, and Mom, you only said the F word twice." So that's life, right? It's life. It has what Jon Kabat-Zinn calls, it's the full catastrophe. It's all there. The no shoes and the maybe no money, and whatever else that you're going through that's difficult and that's challenging. And that's why gratitude, what James just said, gratitude is an and experience. And not denying those things, not glossing them over, not pretending. It's not about being Pollyanna. It's really about saying, yeah, that sucks I can't go to my kid's recital. And what can I enjoy, appreciate about my life, about the other people that's happening right now also. When I first started looking at gratitude, which was about a dozen years ago, I was looking and I was writing about it and studying, and I needed a great, powerful metaphor. And a friend of mine who I love very much, Donna Markova, said to me, "You know what it's like? It's like a flashlight. And it's where you choose to put your attention, which is if you go out in the backyard in the dark, whatever you shine your flashlight on is what you notice, but it's all there." And that's what gratitude is. It's taking the flashlight of our awareness and saying, where can we shine it on what we enjoy, appreciate, and value in this moment about our lives? And I think Jane did a fabulous job in talking about what it does for us, the benefits that it does for us. And so I'd like to talk a little bit about the science behind it, so that just as a grounding, because I don't know about you, but I find that really fascinating. And I think part of what was interesting to me about it is that when I was first looking at gratitude about a dozen years ago, there wasn't any science that had been published. And everything that I wrote about was really just from my own observation and practice. And then suddenly, this thing called positive psychology was born, which is about looking at, instead of what's wrong with people and how to make them not crazy, it's looking at how do you take people from neutral to joyful, for the same reason why you're all in this room. And so when positive psychologists started asking that question, which was about 10 years ago or so, they started to recognize that gratitude was one of the best ways to do it. And still now, I keep looking for other things. You know, I stay on top of the positive psychology. I read everything about it. And gratitude is still the best they got. They have a few other practices. But essentially, looking at what's right about the world and ourselves in a grateful way really helps us be happy. That's the bottom line. So there have been experiments that Seligman has done, for instance, in which he's asked people to notice he used to call it 3 blessings. His new thing is he's calling it 3 good things. I think people got kind of freaked out about the word blessings. So he kind of sanitized it. So what you do is this. At the end of the day, you say, what 3 blessings happened to me in my life today? And that's number 1. And then you say, what was my part in it? What was my part in it? And this part's really important. And the reason is this. This practice has been shown to decrease depression and increase happiness as much as antidepressants does. Now, he said don't go off your antidepressants if you're depressed, but it'll just give you an extra uplift. And the second part of the practice is just as important, because when you ask, what's my part? What you recognize is that you have a part in making good things happen in your life. Whenever I teach this, people always say to me, oh, but what if it was just like a beautiful sunset, right? What's my part in that? That you noticed. That's right. Exactly. That you have the capacity to stop and pay attention with awareness as to what's going on. So the piece about what's my part in it is really important in terms of this practice for happiness. What are some of the other research? Well, it turns out that people who practice gratitude take better care of themselves because they recognize that they have been given a gift, the gift of life. They eat, so they go to the doctor more regularly for checkups, they eat better, they exercise better. I love this part. They even wear sunscreen more often. I'm not kidding you. Because we don't want to just waste this precious incarnation, right? And so we recognize it when we practice gratitude, and so therefore we take care of ourselves. The sum effect of this is that people who are more grateful live on average 7 to 9 years longer than people who are less appreciative. 7 to 9 years. That's greater an effect than exercising or not smoking. And why does it have this effect? Why does it make us happy? Why does it help us be healthy? Some of the neuroscience that's just coming out suggests a reason, and it's this. I have to draw you a picture of a brain. Are you ready? Okay, so here you go. This is our brain. Left hemisphere, right hemisphere. At the very top, right here, is called the prefrontal cortex, left and right. When we think thoughts, happiness, gratitude, joyfulness, all of these feelings start with a thought. So remember, when James asked you to experience gratitude, he had you think of a person. That's a thought. From that thought came an emotion, And what that emotion is, that feeling, comes from when we think positive thoughts, gratitude, generosity, kindness, patience, hopefulness, optimism, we activate our left prefrontal cortex and we flood our body with feel-good hormones. Yay! That's why when you described how does it feel, what were some of the adjectives you had for how you felt when you thought about someone that you appreciated? Warm, open, loving, expansive, etc. That's the endorphins going into your body, bloodstream going, yay! Okay, conversely, when you're running around like a maniac looking for your child's black shoes, and you're thinking thoughts of, how could this, blah, 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 you're activating your right prefrontal cortex, and you're flooding your body with stress hormones, the fight or flight hormones, which actually suppress your immune system. Because the body, this part of the system, when it gets activated, it's as smart as a bunny rabbit or a reptile. It's in fight or flight. It thinks it's life or death emergency. When I was in that state, I thought I was going to die if I didn't find my kid's shoes. Now, come on. That's because it's my reptilian brain making that choice, not my thinking brain. So it acts as if it's a life or death emergency. And what it does in that life or death emergency is churn off the immune system, because it says, forget long-term survival. We got to keep you alive right this second. And there's only 3 choices: fight, flight, or freeze. Unless you're female, you have one other choice. Because your female brain secretes another hormone called oxytocin, which is the desire to get with other people and talk. I'm not kidding you. It's called Tend and Befriend, and women researchers at UCLA discovered it. Okay, so the point of this story is that second by second, moment by moment, by the thoughts we hold, we are bathing our bodies, minds, spirits, because they're all one thing. They're not connected. They're one thing. We're bathing them in either la 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 or This is so profound that there are some researchers now who ask the question, what is the function of positive emotions? And they're just to counteract the negative ones. There's a whole theory that says these things exist just to wipe out the bad effects of the negative emotions. And the person I've been studying recently, she's got a brand new book out called Positivity. And it's something, if you're looking at Awakening Joy, you might be interested in, if you're interested in the science behind all of this. I'm going to talk a little bit about what she discovered. She's been doing, her name is Barbara Fredrickson. She's been doing research for the past years on what she calls it broadening and building. She said the positive emotions are about broadening and building. And at first I kept reading this stuff and thinking, what is she talking about, broadening and building? Okay, so here's what it is. In broadening, what happens is this. She discovered that when you experience any positive emotion, including gratitude, your brain, it actually functions better. And your awareness broadens. Your capacity to notice more of what's available increases. And, by the way, she did this study to show which of the positive emotions do it the most, the best. Guess which one is the number one? Joy. Joy broadens your attention and your cognitive capacity the most, by this much more than contentment, which was the runner-up. So that's the broadening effect, and it also wipes out the lingering negative effects of negative emotions, which is what we just talked about. Now you know why, in terms of the hormones. Okay, but what is this? So that's the broadening. The building part, what's that about? What she discovered is that the more we practice the positive emotions like gratitude, we increase our awareness of our internal and our external resources, and therefore connect to them better. So that's the building. And therefore we are more satisfied with our lives. More satisfied with our lives. So what was I going to say? It just completely went out of my head. Oh, I know. Here's the slogan for it. What we appreciate, appreciates. What we appreciate, appreciates. And so that's literally true, apparently, according to the science that she's done, is to show that the more that we appreciate it, the more we notice and recognize it's there, and therefore it does appreciate. So we have better and stronger connections. We have more, we're more in touch with our resources and more able to use them. One of the things that James said at the outset of our talk today is he said, life is constantly showering us with gifts. And that's true. But we aren't necessarily always paying attention to them, right? Or how amazing that the fact that it is true. I read a story once about Deborah Chamberlain Taylor. You know, she teaches at Spirit Rock. Some of you may know her. And she was at somewhere in Thailand, I think. She went to a monastery. And this particular place, this temple, you came in, and all around the entire perimeter were bowls. And what you were supposed to do is you were supposed to go to each bowl, bow, make an offering, and think of one thing that you were grateful or appreciative for. And she stood there in the room, and she looked at all this room and with all these bowls, and she thought, I can't even possibly think of enough things. And then when she started to do it, what did she notice? She could have gone around and around and around, right? Which is true of all of us. So I'd like you to take a minute to do this practice that I just learned from Martha Beck, who writes for Oprah. I'm modifying it slightly. You do not have to think of 20 things. I don't know about you, but that puts my brain under too much pressure. 20 things. I'm only going to ask you to think of 5, okay? I want you to think of 5 things that came into your life at just the right time. So what's the effect of noticing? What's the effect on you of noticing? Yeah. Makes you smile. Appreciation. A sense of abundance, yeah. Anyone besides me feel less scared? Yeah. Anyone else, what the effect on you was? Happiness, yeah. Yeah. So, however you want to practice gratitude, it's the right way. I personally have never written a thing down in my life, and I'm not going to. And so there. I do not, nor will I ever keep a journal. There's no right way. Some people, when I suggest you to this, they put a sticker on their steering wheel. So when they're driving home in the car, sitting in traffic, they see the sticker and they ask themselves, what am I thankful for today? What do I appreciate about myself today? Make sure you do that piece, which Jane talked about. I do it at the dinner table with my family. I like to do it that way because it creates a connection among whoever is there. But again, you can have email buddies, you can do it. The only trick is to do it. If you don't do it, you don't activate those good hormones, and it doesn't have the uplift effect, basically. So this is not something that you can think about theoretically. It only works if you actually do it. So I want to leave just a little bit of time so people can ask questions. Would you be willing, old mic runner, to? Yeah. So questions, issues, challenges when you practice,
You said at the beginning that there were 3 things that you were that Seligman had taught you or you had learned.
Oh, no,
and I didn't get the third one.
No, the exercise is called the 3 blessings. You have to come up with 3 things that you're thankful for. That's his magic number. Yes, at the end of the day, what was a blessing in my life, and what was my part in it? What was my part in it? Thank you. Anybody in terms of who here has ever has practiced gratitude? It's lots of people. So come on. Is it easy every day? What's the challenge?
We have a gratitude every evening. I have 3 sons, and my husband and we have dinner together, although my oldest is not with us right now. And we hold hands, and instead of saying a grace, we say what we are most grateful for each day. Mm-hmm. And we actually went to a therapist because my oldest was just saying, I'm just grateful to be alive, and we were ticked off at him. But it turned out, as long as he said something, as long as we all said something, there was this terrific connection. And we have probably done this for 3 or 4 years now, and it's every single night. And when we have our Christmas or Thanksgiving, we do it with our friends now, and it's a very important part of our life.
Absolutely, thank you. Yeah, and for those who have kids, whatever they say is fine. Yeah. My little one used to say, I get to go to sleep after this. It's like, good. All right, whatever. And she's been on the rampage for years now. Whatever, food. That's all she says. Food. But she was adopted from China, and she was starving for her first year. So maybe it's a really significant thing to her, at some deep level. But so I think we just have to accept whatever it is. Yeah.
Hi. That you said food, it really means something to me because I always use food to have something to be grateful for, especially when I'm having trouble thinking of other things. There was a picture in the New York Times in this year, and I don't know if any of you remember it, but it's just been imprinted in my brain. It's a woman in Haiti, and she had these cylinders, like a dozen of them, in front of her, and they were mud pies, and this is what she was feeding her children. And when you said something about gratitude is an and, there's an and to gratitude, that meant something to me because when I think about gratitude, when we were doing it with James, I think about my refrigerator, literally. Not only do I have lots of food, I have choices, and I throw out food. I think about this woman a lot.
Yes.
And when I think about her, I feel grateful, and I also feel sad.
Yes.
And but it's not a sadness. It's not like a sadness of desperation. It's just the human condition. It's the awareness of the human condition, which again adds depth to my gratitude.
One of the things that happened, for some reason I don't understand very well, every time I write a book, as soon as I finish it, I realize, there's a whole other part to this, and then I end up writing another book about that. So when I wrote first about gratitude, I realized after it was published that I had left out a huge piece, and Jane referred to it, which is that it seems to me that gratitude is 1/2 of an experience. And that Brother David Steindl-Rast, who's a Benedictine monk, who was one of the first people before all these positive psychology people got into it, who wrote about gratitude and spoke about gratitude. And he calls it a great fullness. A great fullness. And it's what gratitude is a recognition of the fullness that we have, if only for this moment. And so I came to understand that that's like the in-breath. Now I'm full. Well, what am I supposed to then do? Exhale. And the exhale is generosity, kindness. And it's meant to be this cycle of noticing what we have, this appreciation from what we have, this sense of fullness. And then from that fullness, giving back. So I would encourage us to keep that's a natural cycle, and that we should have one word that means it both. We should have a word that means this: gratitude, generosity, life cycle. And that let our recognition of what we have send us into the world with the gifts that we have to offer. Thank you for your question. I want to close with a story. It's a story about, I got an email one day from this guy who this was back in the flush real estate days. And he was a realtor, and he was making a ton of money. And he decided he was going to donate a portion of every sale to this nonprofit he decided to start. And that he was asking for other people to donate. And he sent me a letter saying, he wanted to give the Attitudes of Gratitude as a gift to everyone who donated, and would I be willing to arrange for him to buy books? Well, I arranged for him to get them for free because he was giving them away, and that was the end of it as far as I was concerned. Then one day in the mail, I don't know, weeks later, I get this package from an address I don't recognize. I open this thing, and out falls a rock. And a letter. And the letter was from that guy. His name was Dave. And Dave was telling me, thank you so much for donating these books, and I want to tell you about my charity. And his charity was one that, in California, if you're in the foster system, the day that you turn 18, the day, you are, quote, fostered out, meaning you're now on the street. So first you've been taken care of and food and clothing, and suddenly, bam, nothing. So Dave wanted to create a safe transition place for kids in this situation. And he had been inspired to do so because he met a young woman whose name was Lauren. And Lauren was almost 18. And every single thing that she owned, she could fit in one black plastic trash bag. She had been in 10 placements in 10 years. And she was the happiest person that Dave had ever met. And he asked her, Lauren, you've had such a difficult life, and here you are, you're about to be sent out into the street. How could you be so happy? And she said, I'm happy because one day when I was 10 years old, for a time I lived with Mama Jean. And Mama Jean gave me a rock. And she told me to put it in my jeans. And she said that every single time that I felt that rock, I was supposed to count my blessings. And she said, I've been doing it for 8 years, and that's why I'm so happy. So I would like to give you, at least symbolically, a rock that you can carry with you as well. And when you touch it, you can also touch the magic and the power of gratitude. Thank you.